Hey guys, Justin Byrne here. Got some questions in. This question here is talking about compromise, and it asks, what does healthy compromise look like in a relationship? I would say this: compromise unto the goal of the overall good. When you are compromising, you're adjusting how you do things, what your preferred way to something other than what you do. When you do that, do it unto the overall good. You see that there's a way that benefits everybody that's a little different than your way. That is what I would say is healthy compromise. It's unto something that's good, that you both believe in is right and good, regardless of if it's different than how you do things. And so if somebody's asking of compromise from you, or it's on the table, it needs to be identified from both people that they want the overall good, and they've established some understanding of what that really looks like, and then taking steps of adjusting who you are to that becomes much more natural, hopefully. For people who want to be good to their partner and provide an environment that has an overall good for both people, can feel like they're winning to a significant degree. I would say healthy compromise also looks for a win-win situation. Oftentimes it requires maybe one person to seem like they're giving up something about themselves, but if it's unto something good. Okay, for example, if a person wants something from the other person to change because they feel like it's off how they're doing things and it's affecting them, but they don't realize that what they're really asking from the other person is for them to be just like them, to think just like them, because they're uncomfortable with somebody being different, which that's not realistic. There are going to be people who are different than you, and you have to allow difference in a relationship and learn how to operate in difference. And but compromising the need for them to look and be just like you and say, no, I'm going to learn how to step into the discomfort of things being done not the usual way that I do them, because it's going to help me grow in allowing difference around me, becoming a person who can be around a wider spectrum of people and still be secure and be strong and be settled with who I am, and make allowance for people's difference in an intimate relationship and still be close. Those are all good things. So it's a win-win situation where you realize the compromise is actually, it's addressing an issue in you that you need to grow, that you can give up something to become a better version of yourself for the sake of the overall good of the relationship. So it's a win-win situation when it's a healthy compromise, where you see the value of adjusting your life for a personal gain and also for the relational gain, the overall good. Okay, next part of the question. What are areas that are healthy to compromise in? What are areas to not compromise in? Well, we just talked about areas that are healthy to compromise in when it's headed towards something that's good for you, growth, regardless of if you like it or not, and what's good for the overall relationship. But areas that are not to not compromise in. There's a few thoughts about that. Number one, a friend of mine who went through a divorce recently mentioned this after his divorce. I was like, what advice would you give singles from what you learned from your marriage and divorce? And he goes, people who change things for you before marriage will most likely change back after marriage, if it's done for you and it's not done for themselves. And which I'm getting to the point of, where do you not compromise? Like, personality doesn't really change a whole lot. If you aren't bringing your personality to the table and you try to change yourself, or some core beliefs that you really believe, that you really want to live by, and somebody believes different, and you're in a relationship with them and you give up those core beliefs for the other person, and you start compromising things that you don't actually have to compromise, because down the road you realize, I still don't agree with that compromise. I still don't believe with it. And when push comes to shove, it's going to come out and you're going to revert back to what feels right, what feels good between you and your convictions, and you and God, and that you just can't, that will backfire on you. So areas not to compromise are convictions, values, personality, and the way to avoid that from happening is you have to bring your values, your convictions, your personality, even the small things, your preferences, how you like to be clean or not, if you want pets or not, what you like to do for fun, if you like to be outdoors or not, and you adjust those things for the other people in the dating process, you miss out on really important information. Number one, it's like you deviate from the truest version of the relationship. If you start to get off the path and give who you aren't and change who you are, you have this level right here between however far you deviate. That's a level of stress. And the more you get, the more stress you have of, I'm not quite who I want to be or doing what I want to do in this relationship. And when that gets too great, you're going to get frustrated. And then all of a sudden, you're going to take back where you really want to be. And you want to minimize elements of stress. Relationships need to be good and easy. They need to be simple. They're not perfect and you can work through stuff, but the general flow of a good relationship is it's good and easy. And that comes from bringing who you are and seeing how the other person lives with that, what they think about that. But if we adjust who we are and compromise on bringing our voice, our thoughts, our preferences, even as small as like, where do you want to go eat? And you never really say where you really want to eat. That stuff is a small little area where you feel like you're giving, that you've compromised, and it's a little bit of, it's not really what I want. And if you get too many of those, it doesn't work. It's going to backfire. It's going to blow up. So say those things now. And I wrote this down. I try to be myself in a relationship to the expense of the relationship. Meaning, when we first start dating somebody, we want to put our best foot forward. We want to show the best parts of us. We're trying to attract them. We're trying to, get them to like us. And that's fine in the beginning, but it needs to get to a place where you start doing the real stuff, saying the real things, what you really think, and seeing how they interact with that, so that you can maintain a relationship and see if the relationship has what it takes for you to be you in it, and for it to function well with you being you. Because I think also a good relationship, you don't need to compromise a whole lot. You're on the same page with the important things, and the small things you learn just aren't that big of a deal. And you're like, that's not even compromise. I don't care about some of those smaller things. A good relationship, it shouldn't require lots of large compromise. Okay, continuing on. What are warning signs that a request for compromise is actually one person controlling the other person or trying to make them who they want them to be? Well, a request for compromise sounds like the very beginning of someone wanting you to be who you aren't. To request compromise. The compromise needs to be given by someone, fully by someone, so that they can have their own personal conviction to do it and keep it, so they can see if it's something they really want to keep, versus someone saying, you need to give this to me, and you kind of giving it when you're not ready, or you don't know if you can keep it, or you don't even know if you want it. And requesting compromise is not a good thing. So if somebody's doing that, that's a red flag. And they need to let you have your freedom to give what you want to the person. The value you see in the relationship, it's worth it to you to give when you disagree with something. Or you'd rather do it a different way, but you give in a way that's best for both of you. So it needs to be a giving element, not a asking for. It may be maybe some talk about this is needed, but it's not, you need to give this to me. Watch out for anybody who's requiring it and not allowing you the freedom to give or not give what you want. Okay, what are warning signs that compromise is actually leading one to lose one's unique identity in the relationship? Okay, this is interesting because no one is responsible for you maintaining your unique identity except for you. And so it's up to you to realize when compromise is giving up your unique identity. And sometimes, or actually oftentimes, we don't really know where that boundary is. We have to discover it. We have to talk, we have to process, we have to think about it. It's not just we do it. Sometimes some people are better at just following their gut and it leads them well. Some people follow their gut and it leads them terribly. And so processing it through it is a great thing. So I would say if you aren't giving voice to your real thoughts on important issues, if you aren't saying what you really think, or you feel like, if you feel afraid, or you tried it and the other person gets really, you see the tension rises, or it makes it difficult, or they get hurt, or it makes contention, I would say that's what you need to be able to see. And if you stop bringing who you are to the table because of tension or contention or fear, or you might lose the person, then I think you're starting the beginning process of losing your identity, because you are the one responsible for bringing your unique identity and maintaining that within a relationship, which isn't easy. It's something that you have to process through most of the time to navigate well, to bring yourself. So a warning sign is when you're not saying what you really need to be saying and facing the reality of what does this relationship really have when I'm fully me? How does this person respond? And here's an awesome thing. When you bring who you fully are to the table, you get to see not just if the person can't handle it and you need to break up with them and it's not a great relationship if you're really you, but you get to see that they handled it better than you thought. And they actually love it when you are yourself and when you bring your real thoughts and you challenge them and you bring strength to the table, and you get to see an element that may help convince you that this is, yes, even more so the right person, because I saw how they interact with the real me, and you start to realize that's something I could live with for the rest of my life. That's a great thing, how they handle that. And you see it over and over. And it's not just one time you say your truth, your opinion, your thoughts. It's a constant relationship of doing that. So the sooner you can get into that flow with your dating relationship and see what it's made of, I think the better information you will get as to the reality of the connection you have within the elements of compromise. So those are some of my thoughts on compromise. I hope that was helpful. If you have any questions, please write us in, and we'd love to hear from you. All right, thanks, guys.